I'm the Vice Chair of Chicago Women in STEM Initiative. I'm currently working at Northwestern, and I'm focused on improving the quality of life for persons with limb loss. And my focus is on people who have a lower limb loss, and trying to improve the socket suspension and how it fits on the residual limb. I would like to welcome everyone to our second STEM circuit of the 2020-21 academic year. And what is really exciting, we have over 140 registrations for this event. So it's apparent it's really important and it's very timely. I would like to tell you a little bit about Chicago Women in STEM Initiative. Our main goals are to take ownership of our environment and build a diverse and inclusive Chicago area STEM community to support early career women in STEM, and also to provide career and professional development opportunities, including pathways to industry careers, which are not typically part of the standard grad school academia postdoc experience. Our STEM circuits are cross-career level, multidisciplinary mentoring program. It means monthly with a rotating topic of interest. I would ask people to mute their mics, please. And yeah, we meet monthly. This is our third year. We are excited to keep expanding and reach out more women at local academic institutions beyond Northwestern, such as UIC, Loyola, Rush, and as well as industry. We have amazing team of STEM circuit leaders, Farners, Karen, and Casey, and they prepared excited topics. And so there's every month it's something to look forward to. In the face of this ongoing pandemic, we plan to continue to host these STEM circuit events virtually. We also, in effort to keep building community, we will plan to incorporate breakout rooms towards the end of the event. I would like to encourage all the participants for the breakout room to turn on their cameras and mics to participate, so we can build a social, inclusive environment, especially because the breakout rooms are going to be smaller. And yeah, we are also planning our fourth annual Chicago Women in STEM Symposium. Usually it took place in one day, and it was like a long day event. However, due to COVID, we are going to actually have it in March across the whole week. And there's more information to come about this. And Chicago Women in STEM is 100% driven by Chicago-based volunteers, and we are happy to invite you all to engage with us and become new members, if you will. Our new main email address is info@chicagowomenstem.org. info@chicagowomenstem.org. You can also find a lot of information on our website, which is chicagowomenstem.org. And I would like to thank you again. I'm going to hand over to Farners, who is going to introduce the speakers. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Farners and I'm the coordinator of the STEM circuits together with Karen Nassif and Cassie Sobeda. And as you all know, this year has been a very challenging one for international scholars at US. And this is why our initiative has organized this workshop to provide the last updates of visas, travel bans, but also information about grants and fellowships that as the international scholars can apply. And we will also introduce the Slack channel for international scholars that has been instrumental to seek the support of our community during these challenging months. So our event will be divided in three main parts. The first part will be our speakers will be talking about 40-50 minutes, and then we will follow in by a question and answer session. And once we finish everything, as Julia just mentioned it, I will have a breakout rooms so we can discuss further in the smaller groups how are we feeling during this challenging year. So now I will briefly introduce our speakers. So we have Marian Carlson, that is the Associate Director for International Student and Scholar Services in the Office of International Programs at Loyola University at Chicago. And she has been working for nearly 15 years with international scholars, and she's an expert on several visas, including F1, J1, H1B visa. And Marian will give us some updates about these visas and recommendations for the next few months. Our second speaker today will be LaTanya Veronica Williams. So Dr. Williams is the Associate Director for STEM at the Northwestern Office of Fellowships. LaTanya completed her PhD at the Northwestern and her postdoc at the University of Illinois at Chicago, and she has over 13 years of experience in teaching and advising undergrad and grad students. Today, she will explain us how to access and find fellowships and funding sources for international scholars. And finally, our last speaker will be Carmen Falcone. Dr. Falcone is a postdoctoral scholar at the UC Davis and a founder of the international Slack channel of US international scholars. Carmen's research is focused on astrocytes and how they are involved in the development and evolution of the cerebral cortex in mammals. Carmen is also committed to scientific outreach activities for kids and adults, and also advocates for women and international scholars in science. On these lines, Carmen will be talking today about this amazing Slack channel that she created and how our community, the international community, can help and support you. So with further ado, Marian, now I would like that you share your screen and unmute and start with this event.
Great, thank you. Give me 1 second here to share screen. Okay, sorry about that. Haven't had to use PowerPoint in a while. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm happy to come and chat a little bit about the current state of visas in the US. It's been a crazy year. There's a lot that we could talk about, but I will keep it short and to the point. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Let's see. Oops. Okay. Oops, I went too far. I'm not sure if there are any F1 grad students or any, STEM OPT employers in the audience today, but I wanted to speak briefly about F1 visas, just in case there are a few of you out there. So as of today, there has been no spring 2021 guidance provided by the Student and Exchange Visitor Program as to what they, will allow in terms of enrollment for spring semester. If we are to assume that the current guidance holds, this would mean that any active status F1 student would be allowed to continue maintaining status with full online enrollment for the spring. Any new initial students would of course be required to have an on-site course component in order to secure a new F1 visa. So that's kind of where things stand right now with regard to F1 student status. Most of you, all of you are probably already here, so you don't need to worry about getting to the US. So current guidance would say that you could remain fully enrolled in online classes for the current term. If that changes, your international advisor will certainly reach out and let you know about that. Employment is always a popular topic with our students. Again, nothing has changed from fall semester. So as of fall, students could pursue CPT, OPT, and STEM OPT remotely, provided that they met all of the other employment requirements. The next topic here is DHS proposed rule to eliminate duration of status. So this was a big one. In September, DHS proposed eliminating duration of status for F1 and M1 students, as well as J1 exchange visitors. These individuals would be admitted to the US only until the program end date on their I-20 or DS 2019 for up to 4 years. And as we know, people need more time than that in some cases to complete their programs of study or complete their J1 exchange visitor program. So this would be a huge negative impact on international students and scholars in the US. Any person needing time beyond that to complete their program requirements would need to submit an application to the USCIS for an extension. Additionally, certain groups of people would be restricted to a 2-year admission to the US, This would include anyone from a country that has a greater than 10% overstay rate in the US, or anyone that's hosted by an institution that isn't registered with the E-Verify program. So these are, some pretty challenging proposed changes to rules that would seriously impact F1 and J1 exchange visitors. There was a 30-day public comment period that the federal government allowed, institutions and employers and really anyone in the public could sort of submit their comment as to why this, new proposed rule would be negatively impacted, a negative impact on international students and scholars. We hope that with the new administration coming, this proposed guidance will either be rescinded entirely or at least, cut back a lot, because there's so many ways that this could negatively impact, internationals in the US. So those are sort of the main points to F1 student issues. That last point about the DHS proposed rules to eliminate duration of status, again, transitions over to, impacting J1 scholars as well. So something to keep a close eye on, but we are hopeful that that will change with the new administration. Okay, J1 scholars and H-1B visa holders. As of June 2020, there was a presidential proclamation that suspended entry to the US for certain HL and J visa holders. This was sort of under the guise of protecting the US labor market in response to COVID-19. That proclamation remains in effect and still impacts certain categories of J1 visa holders. Those are the intern, trainee, teacher, au pair, and camp counselor categories. So J1 research scholars, professors are still permitted, to enter the US, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. So anyone seeking a new J1 visa, it's going to be very challenging based on the fact that most consulates are currently only operating on a part-time basis. They're only taking emergency appointments. There are still travel bans to consider upon entry. So I can give you a little bit of background on what Loyola did. So when the pandemic first sort of started in March, we decided to pause our hosting of J1 scholars for a few months. We didn't want to give anyone, false hope that they would be able to get a visa and enter the US in time to begin a program in August. So we sort of paused our issuance of documents for a few months. And then as various consulates and embassies started to open up for visa processing, we started to issue DS 2019s again. We've seen some success, but not a great amount of success. We did have 2 new scholars arrive from India this fall, which was some good news, but we've still had a lot of scholars, sort of just stuck waiting for those appointments to open up. So that's kind of where things stand right now. So J1 scholars, you can still try to enter the US, but it is certainly going to be challenging. For H-1B visas, there is no consular processing of H-1B visas right now. So anyone needing an H-1B should already be in the US, either trying to change their status to H-1B or transfer their H-1B status from one institution to the next. That is fine, but anyone waiting consular processing abroad is going to continue to be waiting for quite some time. The USCIS premium processing fee increase. So this, again, might not impact a lot of H-1B visa holders, but it's something to mention. As of Monday, October 10th, the premium processing fee increased from $1,440 to $2,500. And while this fee is typically covered by the employer, at some institutions, and in some cases, this fee could be passed along to the beneficiary. At Loyola, for example, the hiring department covers the premium processing fee associated with the initial H-1B petition, but the extension is submitted via standard processing always. That's the policy. And in some cases, the H-1B visa holder might want that expedited because they need to travel for some reason. So in that case, the premium processing fee would be passed along to the beneficiary. And that's a pretty big increase in fee. So keep that in mind. Do know the ins and outs of the policy at your institution. What potential fees could be passed along to the beneficiary is pretty important. The new Department of Labor prevailing wage rule, that is a big one that just happened fairly recently. On October 8th, the Department of Labor released an interim final rule, which went into effect immediately, specific to prevailing wage determinations. Now, this is going to impact anyone in H-1B status. In short, it drastically increased the percentiles associated with each of the 4 tiers of skill and experience used in determining prevailing wages for international employees. As an example, at Loyola, we had an employee who was in need of an extension. And based on the new Department of Labor prevailing wage determinations, Loyola was going to have to increase his salary by $20,000. And that is, not sustainable for a lot of, higher education institutions to bump up someone's salary by $20,000, $30,000. So in this case, we chose to use an outside private wage survey with the hope that it would return a more realistic match to postdoc salaries. So that's something to keep an eye on. If you are a current H-1B and you need to file an amendment or your extension is coming up, those prevailing wage determinations could sort of catch your hiring department by surprise. So that's something to keep an eye on there. Let's see here. And then travel. I know most people don't want to hear this. Everyone wants to be able to go home for the holidays and see family, but our recommendation has to be to avoid, non-essential travel. And I know that, people don't want to do that, and people are still going to travel anyway, which I understand. But please thoroughly research your destination. Most places are going to have entry, quarantine, or exit requirements specific to COVID-19. So know where you're going and what those conditions are going to be. Please make sure that your I-20 or DS 2019 has been endorsed for travel. Check the expiration date of your visa. If you're going to need to renew your visa, I would say just don't travel. It's going to be hard to get an appointment. We've seen, we've had a few scholars right now who were successful in getting emergency appointments in Western Europe. This is specific to, and they've had their appointments canceled like that same week that they were supposed to get their visa renewed. So even if you think you've got things squared away and you've got your visa appointment scheduled, they can still go ahead and cancel those for you. So if your visa is going to expire, I think the safest bet is to stay put for the time being. There are, several country-specific travel bans still in place from, the summer or the spring rather. So foreign nationals who have been physically present in China, Brazil, Iran, the Schengen area, Ireland, and the UK within 14 days before seeking admission to the US will be denied entry unless they qualify for an exception. So keep that in mind. Those travel bans are still in place. Even transit through an airport in one of those countries counts as physical presence and triggers the ban. So be very careful with your travel. There is a blanket sort of waiver for F1s traveling from the Schengen area and the UK and Ireland. F1 students don't need to seek out that national interest exception to travel back. But anyone else is going to need to apply for that waiver if you're coming from a country like that and have that approved in order to re-enter the US. If you do decide to travel, please, consult the Illinois Department of Public Health. Oh, sorry, I typed those letters backwards. Website for the most up-to-date guidance from the state of Illinois. When you do come back, stay home. Don't go to school or work for at least 2 full weeks. Monitor your temperature. Also check with your institution to see what sort of quarantine guidelines and requirements they have. They might want you to, quarantine for a little bit longer before coming back into a lab or something like that. So please, check with your local and state authorities and your employer to see what sort of requirements you need to fulfill before being able to resume your, your classes or your work. So that was a very quick overview of the sort of most important points of, what's happening with FJ and H visas right now. Again, it's been a very crazy year in immigration. We all would like for these regulations to be more black and white, but there's so much nuance to everything. And COVID-19 has really just, made everything even more chaotic. The one thing I will say is that while I can talk in very specific or very general terms about these sort of topics, it's really important for you to have a close relationship with your international student advisor or national scholar advisor. These people know the ins and outs of your case. No one knows your background, your history better. No one knows your goals for being in the US better than that person. So please do consult your immigration advisor before you're traveling, because they know best, they know what's best, and are there to help you. So that sort of wraps up my very quick overview of visa information for fall 2020. And I will of course stick around after to answer some more specific questions.
Thank you, Marian. I think that we have a couple, so we maybe.
Oh, sure.
Let me have one. Hello, is there any salary limitations for applying for H-1 visa?
Salary limitations? I mean, and that gets to the prevailing wage rule that I mentioned before. So before your institution can file an H-1B, they're going to need to determine the prevailing wage for that position. And so there will be requirements for what you're being paid. And that's going to vary depending on, your position, where you're working, your field, things like that. So yes, there are specific requirements.
Perfect. So the second one is, it will be problematic even if I have to renew a J-1 existing visa?
Yeah, yes, it could be. I mean, we have a scholar abroad right now whose visa appointment was canceled last week. She had one lined up in Paris, current J1 scholar, it was canceled. So yes, it could be problematic. You really do need to reach out. And it's going to vary, as I said, from one post to another. So reach out to the local US embassy or consulate that you're going to be applying through, just to make sure. But yeah, we've seen people have their appointments canceled very last minute.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. I'm also considering going to Spain to renew my J1 in Christmas, and I found that it has been so difficult to be in contact with embassies. I email them.
Getting a response is hard. Yeah, yeah.
I have my appointment, but I ask them how long it will take to process my visa. Nothing.
Nothing.
I found very frustrating. Try to contact them for several ways and not getting able to have an answer. So
right. I'm sorry about that, and it's just our best recommendation right now, because they just seem to be canceling things without left and right on people who think they have something solid lined up. So it's really in your best interest to, if you can, stay put, but I know that's not always possible.
And the last question for now, it's any idea if these travel bans are going to finish and when?
Nope. I wish we knew. I mean, we're hoping that early 2021 things will change, but we don't know as of yet.
Do you think that now that we'll have the transition at the beginning of January, people that is going to their home countries to renew or get J1 visa, this is another risk, because travel ban will finish at the end of the year, but
right,
Trump will be still there. So
it's it's hard to say anything for certain when it comes to the current administration. They are constantly surprising us or throwing curveballs. So we all assume that things are going to get better with regard to immigration with the new administration, but who knows what the next 2 months what will unfold in the next 2 months with the Trump administration. It's really hard to gauge what they plan to do.
Perfect. And the last one before we move to LaTanya, what is the easier way of getting information about this, to know if there will be any changes whenever there will be changes?
And this is something that hopefully your immigration advisor will communicate to you. So so obviously I work at Loyola. So whenever there is a big change in immigration, we send out a newsletter to our population and to our campus partners as well, because there are so many host departments that are working with scholars or hiring H-1Bs, and they need to know about this stuff too. So we send that out very regularly. As soon as there is some sort of big announcement from the USCIS or DHS, we send that out. I think really it comes down to having that relationship with your international office and your immigration advisor. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. That's why they're there. You know, they're the best able to address your questions.
Okay, so if we don't have any other questions for now, we will move to LaTanya. Thank you so much, Marian. This was super helpful.
Oh.
And now we'll learn a little bit more about how to obtain funding for international scholars.
Okay, hi, I'm LaTanya, and I work in the Office of Fellowships at Northwestern University. And I'll just talk a little bit about fellowship opportunities that could be open to international students. So this is how our office likes to define a fellowship. There are short-term opportunities. They can go for tuition assistance. Some fellowships allow you to they fund research activities for you during the year. Some are for summer study, and there are some language programs as well. So why should you want to pursue a fellowship? We think that it's a good way to kind of build your CV for future opportunities. And it can also allow you to pick up skills that you may not have otherwise had. And if you are considering a career in academia, it's good to be able to demonstrate the ability to be successful in securing funding from external organizations. So this is what we do at our office at Northwestern. Maybe at your home university is probably similar. But if you are a Northwestern student, we think of ourselves as a resource center for all external fellowship opportunities. And we support students in various ways to apply for these opportunities. We do seminars, we do mock interviews for those opportunities that require them. We have an online resource library available to Northwestern students that has a limited number of previous winning essays that you can take a look at. And anything that require university endorsement, you would have to go through our office. So this is our staff, and each one of us has an area of expertise. I know at each university it's a little bit different. At Northwestern, we generally have a large number of students applying. So this is why we have this nice division of labor. Any of us can, have the skills to help you with any opportunity, but this is kind of how we divide the work up during the fellowship season. So I'll just go over and highlight a few fellowships that are open to international students. A lot of the deadlines have passed. Usually the prime time to apply for fellowships would be between August, I would say, and November. But I think I did find a couple that have deadlines that are upcoming. The AAUW, American Association of University Women, they have a number of fellowships. You want to take a look at the international fellowships. The deadline just passed, so maybe for next year, this might be something that you want to take a look at. They offer it to students in master's programs, doctoral and postdoctoral programs. So this fellowship is designed to help support your daily living expenses. So educational expenses, things like books or things of that nature, if you have children, and travel to professional meetings. So the eligibility is they're looking for women who have citizenship in a country other than the United States. You must have at least a bachelor's degree, and you must be willing to devote yourself full time to your academic plan. And they also have this intent to return to your home country to pursue a career. They don't necessarily hold you to that because they know their plans will change. But when you write the application, you must talk about, what you would do with your education when you return to your home country. So this is just some criteria for selection to just kind of keep in mind. They do take into account financial need as well. So that is something that you will want to highlight in your application materials. So on to another one, more for STEM type students. American Heart Association pre-doctoral, they have a number of programs, but for the students who are in PhD programs, this would be the one for you. The deadline is coming up, so there could be a little time if you want to work over the holiday. This fellowship is open to students in a variety of disciplines. They have a listing on their website, so you want to, it's not obvious, but you want to go through there and kind of find it, or you can contact them directly and say, this is the research that I'm doing. Is it eligible for your program? So the award amount for this one aligns with the NIH scale for the pre-docs. So for 2021 is $25,320 plus the $4,200 for health insurance. And the award duration is for 1 or 2 years. That's pretty good. Eligibility, you must be in a post-baccalaureate, so you must be a PhD, MD. They have a whole list of them. You should be a full-time student, and you should be at the stage where you're doing your full-time research, so not in the coursework stage. So I like to think maybe year 3 or beyond. Eligibility criteria, so they have a whole list of visa categories, and they also allow DACA individuals to apply as well. So application components is, you kind of need a lot to do this one, but if you've written a grant for something in the past, it's probably doable, I would say. So another one that I've seen more students come to me about is the Facebook Fellowship Program. Their deadline was October 1st, and this one is open to students who are doing computer science and engineering research as a part of their program. So you get your tuition and fees paid for the academic year. It's up to 2 years of support. And I mean, it's a pretty good package. Stipend to cover living and conference travel, and a paid visit to Facebook, which hopefully we'll be able to resume, you know, once COVID gets a little bit better. To apply, you must be a full-time PhD student. Your ongoing research must be related to the relevant disciplines as listed on the fellowship page, and you have to be full-time. So they don't ask for much. They give a lot and they don't ask for much. 500-word research summary, but this can be really tough for students because you have to talk about your research, the importance to the field, and how it's applicable to Facebook only in 500 words. Plus you need 2 letters of recommendation for this one. Another one, Graduate Women in Science. So this one has a deadline that's coming up, January 11th, 2021. This award, you have to request the amount that you want. They do ask for a budget, so you can request a maximum of $10,000. And they have the fellowships listed under all of these names. But what they do is they look at all of the students who have applied, and the highest scoring one will get, what is it, the Adele Lewis, and you would get the amount that you kind of requested, which I would hope you request the $10,000. And then it kind of goes down from there. So the funding is for 1 academic year only, and they have a list of what you must spend your funds on. So pretty much things that you would use day to day and doing your research. And like they say, the cost must be justified in the proposal. So you will want to list exactly what you need and how much it would cost. So you cannot use these funds for salary, tuition, you know, personal things, no laptops or anything like that. The eligibility, so women holding a degree, a bachelor's degree or something like that, it's open to all women, and it is open also to individuals who identify as a woman. This is a new change and a welcome and timely change that I was happy to see there, because I never ask anyone to justify who they are. We just kind of help. So it's good the fellowships are kind of coming around. One thing they would encourage you to do is to join the GWIS. Students can join at a rate for $40 to apply. And this one is also, you have to demonstrate need for this particular one. So you have to talk about what you kind of need the money for. Chateaubriand, I like the idea of this one. This is an international fellowship for international students. The deadline is coming up January 6th, so you definitely have some time. It allows PhD students to conduct research in France for 4 to 9 months, and they have 2 branches to it, more traditional STEM, and then the humanities and social sciences. So for the STEM award, this is the amount of funding that you would get, 1,400 euros. You get a round trip ticket to France and your health insurance paid for. And for the STEM students, I have the eligibility listed below. You must be at a US university, any topics available. You do have to identify, you have to identify like a lab in France and probably reach out to that person that you would want to do research with. So for the humanities and social sciences, there's the stipend, 1,500 pounds. I'm not sure why it's different. Health insurance and the round trip ticket to France. They also want students who are working on their PhDs. You have to be enrolled in American University. You don't have to be a US citizen or anything like that. They do want you to also have this letter of affiliation, which is common for a lot of awards where students want to go overseas to do research. So this is the selection criteria. And like I said, again, identifying the host laboratory, well, they want that for both, but it is very important for a lot of these types of awards. And also, there are a large number of dissertation completion fellowships that are open to international students. Usually students are, they have the most fellowship opportunities at the beginning of their PhD programs and at the end. So for dissertation completion, those are generally 1-year opportunities. And you just kind of tell them, this is the work I've done. I have this little bit to finish. And that is something that could be open to you. For those NU students and alumni, you can visit our website to make a virtual appointment with us. We're all virtual right now, but all of our staff is listed on our website. If you're not a Northwestern student, you can always go to our fellowship finder here if you want to read about any of these opportunities that I talked about. And that is all that I have. Are there any questions, or should I just?
Thank you, LaTanya. Now, like, we know, like, have a lot of fellowships to apply, so a lot of work in the next.
Yeah, for that January deadline. Yes.
So we will be busy writing. But yes, thank you so much for this summary. I'm sure that we all took a lot of notes of all the grants that we can start to write. And now it's time for Carmen, that she will talk about this Slack channel that I suggested so many times. I'm telling to everyone that should join to this Slack channel. So now she will explain a little bit more about this.
Thank you so much, Farners, and all the other organizer of this event for having me and for inviting me. It's a great honor for me to speak to you about this Slack channel and all these challenges that we have been facing this year as international students. And as Marian was saying at the beginning, it's been a difficult year for many different things, but for us international, it's been even more difficult. And well, I will just tell a little bit of the backstory of this Slack channel, of how this all started, but then I really want to focus on what it is and how you can join and what you can find in it as resources. So it all started back in June with the most famous proclamation that Marian also told us about today. Most of it is still ongoing, so it's still valid. And I remember that I started chatting with a lot of people online, on Twitter, with a lot of colleagues, and there was already the pandemic ongoing, so we didn't have so many opportunity to meet in person and to chat about all this. So I remember there was a lot of fears, a lot of doubts, a lot of questions, and very little information around, a lot of confusion. And of course, like Marian suggested multiple times, the International Office is the best place that we can go to ask for more information. But a lot of times I realize there is also some not urgent matters, though, that we don't want to bother the International Office constantly with our fears and our questions. And so one thing is to address a specific case, like I need to do this and my situation is this and my visa is expiring, one other thing is, well, can I do that in like 2 months? What's going to happen? What does it mean? What is the potential damage that this thing is going to do? And of course, for all this, I, together with other people, other colleagues, we were speaking about the necessity and the need to have a community. And we were already a lot, because I was speaking with a lot of international scholars online. Like, I met a lot of people this year, and that was amazing. But then we needed a place to speak and to chat about all this, and that's how this whole Slack idea started. So first, I joined the Postdoc Union, and we started to do some initiatives to inform people at UC Davis and UC University of California. And then I realized that not all the people have the lack of having also like a good international office, like also you have. So I was contacted by a lot of scholars all around the US telling me, well, we are writing to our international office and they're not replying, or like they're not being that responsive as yours, and we would like really to know this and this and this. And most of the times the questions were always the same. Like even now, the question is always the same. Can I travel? Can I go back for Christmas? That's gonna be like a repetitive question all the time, because that's also my question. I decided to stay here, but I've been asked this question several times. So that's how this all started. I created this Slack group thinking that perhaps it's gonna be just me and other 20 people, and actually it's almost 700 people right now. So it's really getting big, and I didn't expect that. I'm very happy about that. So we have different channels where Slack is an amazing tool. I discovered that when I came to US, because I don't think in Europe we use it that much, right? So we don't have it there. So that's good that in the US, a lot of people already were using Slack for work. So that was a good thing to just add another group, and that was useful. So they didn't have to study and to learn another platform, right? So we have different channels, and I just noted some here. So we have the breaking news channel. So for some of the people in the chat before were saying, it's difficult sometimes to keep up with the news, and that's true. So with the breaking news channel, sometimes everybody who has a different news or who's heard about something new, they just post the news there, and we try to stay updated, all of us. So most certainly, if something big is going to happen or it has happened in a day, we're going to read it there, because somebody of all the almost 1,000 people are going to post it there. So that's the beauty of the social networks. And we have a moral support group, which I think it's amazing. And we do every 2 weeks now, we do some Zoom calls. Of course, not all of them, all of the people are in these Zoom calls, but it's random people. Every time it's different people, and we meet each other. And during the pandemic has been quite helpful to have this sense of community and to face together the same challenges. And then we have more practical channels, channels for questions, for visas, for green cards. It's a lot of general questions that, of course, they will need to be addressed also to the international office. But like I was saying, most of the times it's about personal experiences. So did you try that? What's your best way that you can suggest in case I don't get any valid reply, or do I have any other options that I was not informed about? And we've been helping each other around with that. And so we have, yes, questions, and we have a channel with jobs too that is still under construction. But if anybody has some job openings, or if anybody sees some job advertising, we post it there. And we have also a channel where we share fellowships. So LaTanya, thank you so much, because I'm going to post some of the fellowships that you explained to us today in that channel. And right now we're working on a project which is to put together, it's a little bit ambitious. I don't know if we will ever make it, but we will put together a Google shared document with all the fellowships available for international. And we are trying to build it this way, divided by fields, and divided by stage of careers. So we're still doing it, but we will share it soon online so that can be an open source and all the people can just fill it in with all the different fellowships that are open for international, because that's the challenge. There's a lot of fellowships here in the US, but as you know better than me, there is a little percentage which is open also to international. So that's our challenge now. And so without stealing more of your time, yes, so great. Carmen already shared the link to join the Slack. And if you want, you can also check it on Twitter. So basically, I just created a Twitter account just to have a pinned post with the link to join the Slack. So it's not an account that will spam you with news or anything. You just go there, you click on the link and you join the Slack channel. That's why it's there. And this account is called, the handle is International US. So, but you can find it as International Slack for International Scholar Slack on Twitter. So that is it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Karen. So if someone has any question, like feel free to write them or directly ask. And if not, like the ones that want to stay longer, we can start with these breakout rooms of discussion. So any question?
And I see people are joining, other people are joining, so I'm very happy.
So yeah, so I think that, first I want to thank a lot like Marian, LaTanya, and Carmen for speaking today. It has been amazing. It's amazing to have this support network. We, at the beginning, I think that all of us felt with a lot of fear, lost here in US. We don't have family here, so it was difficult, but having like a community like all of you that helps us to transition has been very useful, and it was amazing this conversation today. I see that we have one question for Marian's. I was really interested to hear what Loyola used a private wage survey for a recent H-1B postdoc. Would you be able to share which survey you used and if it was successful?
Well, we don't know if it was successful yet. I would need to consult HR because they gave us 2 surveys that were possible to use, but I can't remember what the names of them were. So I can certainly look into that. If anyone has any questions, you can email me and I can share that information.
Perfect. So Karen, I think that you are the host. I don't know if you can start like to create these breakout rooms. So thank you everyone for joining today. And
I have a question.
oh, yes.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the visa.
Okay.
So it's like I am in master's in biotechnology program at Rush University, and I'm applying for PhD programs.
Mm-hmm.
And currently I am on L1 visa. So L1 dependent visa. So I'm able to work, I'm able to study full time. I have no problem in that. But the only thing that is stopping me is like, I am good till August 2022, August 22. But after that, if I go into I am hopeful I will go into the PhD program. And when I have to switch, if in case I have to switch, so will it be easy for me to switch to the student visa?
It's hard to say 2 years from now, but usually the change of status process, it depends on if you choose to do it here in the US or go home and do it. Usually if you file in the US, it's very lengthy. We're seeing like 10, 11, 12 months to get that approval come through. If at all possible, we, at least at Loyola, recommend that students depart the US, apply for it in their home country, and then come back.
Oh, okay. So you suggest to go home, apply for it, and then come back?
Yeah,
even
that's
if
generally.
I have a,
oh, I'm sorry.
Even if I am already in the PhD program.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of students who are, either H4s or J2s who start their program in that status, and then they want to take advantage of some different practical training opportunities after they finish their degree. So